Good afternoon guys, I'm Mark from Peak District Survival School. I'm here this weekend delivering wilderness at Bow Desert Activity Centre. I'm going to tell you just a few bits about natural navigation. In front of me there's an established oak tree. The oak tree grows generally for 300 years, lives for 300 years and then decays and dies. So it offers us lots of information about natural navigation, from the way the branches grow to the root system on the ground that's exposed. Starting with the roots, the prevailing wind hits the UK from the southwest, and then it's going to the northeast. So the tree is constantly trying to be blown over. It sends out anchor roots towards the prevailing wind to hold it in place, and it grows buttress roots at the back that grow at a steeper angle. So we've got those anchor roots searching out to hold it in place, and these big buttress roots at the back propping it up. You'll see at the base of this tree that there's lots of moss growing, and it's a common knowledge that moss generally grows on the northern side of the tree, because we're in the northern hemisphere. The shaded side and more moist side of the tree is on the northern, more shaded side. But we can see here that that's not always true. The moss around this tree has grown right up to the cleft in this tree, equally on both sides. So we need to take any of these indicators, each one in isolation, but as a whole picture. We shouldn't ever trust just one. As we start to climb and look up the tree, this tree shows a growth pattern where the trunk of the tree slightly angles in towards the prevailing wind as it's been fighting as a juvenile, and then it starts to straighten up, and during its growth pattern of spiralisation it straightens itself out as it grows in maturity. The tree needs to produce food, it needs to photosynthesize the energy of the sun, and that's what we call the phototropic effect. The branches will grow out horizontally towards the sun rises gently in the east and sets in the west, so the branches will start to creep out in that pattern. And as the sun gets to the highest and strongest in the south, it'll produce most of its leaves, those little solar panels, facing the due south. And then as the sun retreats, the branches will start to die away. But that leaves the residual heat and light going through the tree, and on the back of the tree the branches will grow more vertically to also photosynthesize the energy of that sun. So we get what's called the tick effect. The upright branches at the back and the more horizontal branches at the front. So just the oak tree shows us three very typical examples of natural navigation: the roots, the trunk and the sun. Right guys, we've made a short trip from the oak tree and we're over to the silver birch here. The oak tree is the king of the forest. The silver birch is a much younger living tree. It only grows for around 60 to 65 years maximum, and then it'll fall naturally, decompose and form the soil layers. But because of its quick growth, it actually displays the indicators much more accurately. Up above my head up here, we can see the whole sweeping circle of the sun. The back of the tree is very, very barren. There is hardly any leaves or any branches there, because this tree has put all of its energy into producing an array of branches and as many small leaves as solar panels to photosynthesize the energy of the sun as possible. The history of this tree is quite spectacular. It always moves into the area following glaciation. It would be very quick to establish, it would be very quick to then live and die and form the soil layers. But it has lots of other uses other than natural navigation. We turned it into charcoal for many, many years to use in the metal industry to make the tall ships and the seafaring boats. And during the charcoal process we would extract the tars, and that would be used to waterproof the inside of the boat, as well as the bark on the outside being a really, really good tinder and source of ignition for fire. So this tree offers us a lot more than natural navigation. It doesn't display the same root structure because of the speed of growth. It just depends on sending out roots in every direction to give it stability for its short life. So there is two comparisons from two different trees, and as I've already mentioned, you shouldn't use them in isolation. You should use them as a whole, bigger picture, working together to give you that directional format. Okay guys, thanks very much for listening. If you are ever lost in the woods All you have to do is stand still, remember these few tips and look up at the trees. Always walk in the same direction. Try not to deviate, because eventually you'll reach a road or point of habitation and then you're no longer lost.